Senator Kennedy, key person in the Senate the last time, but he has a primary opponent who's running at him from the right, J.D. Hayworth, who's been very critical of his work on immigration reform. I was wondering what you think the prospects are for those three key Republicans.
Yeah, I think first of all, you know, when I spoke to Senator McCain 6 years ago, I think 7 years ago, we sat down, had our first conversation, and he said, Luis, you know, I'm going to have to get the Republicans to understand that we're going to need to find a way to legalize the undocumented workers in this country and bring them out. And you're going to have to work on those Democrats so that we can have a future flow of workers, a continuous future flow of workers to provide for the needs of our labor force. I think we're still there today. As you so well put it, my friend and my ally in this fight, Congressman Flake. But I think I also know what's in Senator. I mean, you can't spend 2 years in one of those cubbyholes over in the Senate arguing over language and in a compromise immigration package that we put forward and not come to know what's in someone's heart. I'm hoping the primary is over in Arizona and that he comes back from that process and that we can re-engage him. He's important because he understands these issues from the border, and you know something? He understands the idiosyncrasies of the legislation. My friend, Congressman Flake here, I understand. Let me explain to you why I did it this way. I did it this way because I said, listen, at this particular point, what I want to do is I want to rev up the Democrats. I want to make sure, and so we have 95 Democrats. We'll have 125 before the end of the month. The majority of the Democratic caucus will be on the bill that I introduced into the House. We wanted to energize our population across this country so that once the Senate process is finished, a process which we will need to continue here in the House, then Senator Flake and others like him, who I know want to bring about, can be brought to the table.
When it comes to the substance of the legislation, what does everyone agree on? Is there a large section of it that you could have wide bipartisan support? Sure. And then what do you think are the toughest bits to get done? I mean, what is it that you're going to be talking about behind closed doors that final day, trying to get the legislation finished?
Yeah, I think, look, first of all, we've come a long way from the first introduction of the first bill in 2000. And Senator Kennedy and I introduced it together. We've come a long way from them. You know, border security, important. And just how it is we maximize those understanding those who leave and come into our country and protect ourselves, important. Some kind of ID card, biometric or other. My grandfather was the first one in the Gutierrez family to have a Social Security card. Then my dad had one, I got one, my daughter had one, and now my grandson has one. The same technology? 70 years, I think we can make some improvement. We need to know who is we need to have a verification system so that we know who's eligible and ineligible to work in America. I think that that's important. So once we take care of those kinds of security things where there's going to be wide support, that's for a verification system, for putting more securities. I mean, we should take criminals and those who enter into our country and engage in criminal activity, we should have a seamless process for their deportation and expulsion from the United States. Those are issues where we're working on very closely. We need more agents. We need more jail cells. Let's do it. Let's make sure that our immigration system is one that has those kinds of things. The difficult part is always the part of how do you reunify families? How do you make sure that those long waits of decades for your brother, now these are American citizens, waiting for their mom, waiting for their brother, waiting for their sister to be reunited for him. How do we get rid of those long waits? I think that's something. And lastly, it's always going to be, how do we take the millions of agricultural workers, which it is already stated that about 70% of our agricultural workers are undocumented. How do we bring them and incorporate them into our labor system in a full and meaningful way? How do we take the other millions? What are the tests? What's the punishment? What are the kinds of things that they're going to have to do? English classes? We agree. Civics classes? We agree. Pay a fine? We agree. Put them at the end of the line, we agree. Put them into a program so that, is it going to take 6, 7, how many years does it take before they graduate from that program that we will say that the past is the past and that they've paid for their infractions and now we're going to embrace them fully? I think those are the kinds of issues that we're looking at. But look, you can't have comprehensive immigration reform until you take those 12 million people and bring them out of the shadows. You can say they have to learn English. You can say what kind of penalty they're going to have to pay. You can incur extra taxes on them. We can do all of those things. We can discuss all of those things. What we can't have a discussion about is allowing them to remain in the shadows, because you know what? They do depress the wages of other workers. We want to bring them so that all American workers' working standards can be improved.
Congressman, Robert Gibbs, White House press secretary, was asked recently about the administration's priorities in the wake of health care, what comes next, in other words. And he mentioned the economy, he mentioned jobs, he mentioned energy, but immigration didn't seem to be a first-order priority. Do you feel you've successfully made the case to the White House and President Obama that this needs to rank as high as some of those other issues? Because it doesn't seem like that message has resonated.
You know, you're absolutely right. I can't disagree with you. I was very taken aback and very saddened when he didn't mention it. Maybe he hasn't got the memo yet. But when I and others engaged the White House on this issue, we said, I said, you got my vote on the health care proposal today. Now let's begin to resolve, because the people are still coming Sunday. Tens of thousands of people are coming today. I'm going to address them at about 2:30 today. And they haven't, I don't think, and it is pretty important. You know, I thought about it. I said, God, I mean, Gibbs has been with before he was president, when he was the senator in the campaign, they share so many days and hours and months together. Certainly, he must know what's on the president's agenda. And for him to fail to mention it, I think tells us that we still have work to do. Never again can a press secretary speak about what the priorities of this administration are and not mention this. That's why people are coming to the mall. They're coming to the mall to seek that kind of redress and see if government will finally be on their side, as others have in the past.
Congressman, you and other Democrats saying that the health care bill will pass. Any prediction on what the final vote total will be?
You know, let's look at the last vote total, right? It was like, what, 220, 260? And I think that's what the Democratic whip operation is looking forward to. I think it's going to pass. I have every confidence that it's going to pass today. I've talked to my colleagues. The president has done a marvelous job this week. He has engaged us as he has never done before. I really see him as a president that isn't as argumentative, isn't as defensive, that is listening to us, that is incorporating people's ideas, and building momentum, that is really given our party, by going outside of Washington, D.C. and inside of Washington, D.C., giving us a lot of direction. And I congratulate the president on the kind of energy and the kind of enthusiasm and vigor he's brought to this campaign. And I think in the end, very, very beneficial.
Congressman Luis Gutierrez from Illinois, thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me this morning.
We should point out also we will be covering the rally today and your remarks before the gathering, and you'll be able to see it online at cspan.org. Congressman, thanks for being with us. Peter Nicholas, let me ask you first of all the timeline that you heard, that he said that the bill could be presented by late April and a vote.
The administration is desperate to shift to jobs in the economy, having taken up so much time on the health care bill. So, but I think the congressman is right for this bill. To move